Hey everybody, and welcome to Old Roommates. Today on the show, we revisit the John Candy classic, Uncle Buck. So grab your giant pancake and get ready.
Hey everyone, it is Old Roommates, the only podcast that revisits pop culture through a middle-aged lens. This is Christina.
And this is Brian. We are social distancing in a new location at my house. And
So we're just spreading COVID everywhere.
and we really are. We're in this room. We're separated by a good 8 feet.
I'd say 8 feet, yeah.
And if it's a little echoey, we're just testing this room out because we want to see what the acoustics are like. So if it sounds weird, just pretend this is a TED Talk.
Yes,
because TED Talks always sound a little weird on YouTube.
It's the Old Roommates TED Talk about Uncle Buck.
So let's jump into it. Christina, 1989 and or the first time you saw Uncle Buck.
1989, so I didn't see it in the movies. Okay. I saw it as I feel like it may have been a movie on maybe HBO or something when I saw it. Mm-hmm. It was probably in the 90s though that I saw it. Mm-hmm. And I think it was probably something that I just sort of stumbled on. I liked John Candy. Mm-hmm. And I liked going to the movies and watching movies and things like that. But it wasn't sort of the type of movie that I would have sought out and said, oh, let's watch Uncle Buck. It had a pretty good following. It was pretty successful. Mm-hmm. And that's probably why I ended up watching it. So it was either HBO or maybe I rented it from somewhere. But I do remember enjoying it more than I expected. And I remember it having more heart than I expected. Even back then. Yeah. And although I didn't remember a lot of the details this time around, when I would think about Uncle Buck, I just always remembered the ending and how sweet the ending was. Mm-hmm. And that's really what stayed with me. Mm-hmm. I didn't remember too much more about it, to be honest. But I liked it. I liked it, and I had a nice feeling about it. Yeah. It was never, it would have been something... Uncle Buck, it's a great movie. For no apparent reason. Yeah.
It's funny, I agree with you, in terms of that heart memory. When I think about Uncle Buck, I do think of wow, I remember it being a happy, pleasant, charming, John Candy, loving him movie. I honestly couldn't remember, I'll stay in then, but I remember loving Macauley Culkin in that, and that was obviously before Home Alone. But I remember John Candy is so great. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. I remember loving Summer Rental. I loved that movie. And so with John Candy, it's you have this built-in sort of affection for him. And I just remember, the heart and really liking it. I agree. I don't think I saw this at the movie theater, but I remember seeing it more than a few times. You're right. Probably on cable. Mm-hmm. Maybe I'm sure I rented it on VHS once or twice. But it had that at least then, remembering it had this sort of safe family movie to it.
It was such a family movie. Yeah.
So that's that. That was then. And now. So when did you re-watch this?
So I re-watched this movie last night.
Awesome.
I don't usually wait till the last minute like this. But I don't know, just the weeks just got away from me. And so I watched it last night, and I watched it with Matt and Emily. And for those of you who don't listen to this podcast, Emily is my daughter. She's 12, and she doesn't typically watch movies with me because she's not really a huge movie lover. She just doesn't really love movies. I don't know. I'm assuming there was some sort of switch at the hospital when she was born, because I don't know how this happened.
But however, you've also had many chances to leave her at doorsteps.
That's true.
Which was my advice.
She's so cute.
She's
really
cute.
She's a cute kid. But anyway, but I will say, in the past couple of years, she has started watching a few more movies, mostly because she's starting to like the stars of movies. So it's opened up a little bit more for us. A little. But she watched it last night, and our deal is you watch it for 45 minutes, and if you don't like it after 45 minutes, then you can leave and do something
That
else.
is interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so that's, I like kind of forcing her to
Yeah.
at this point. Well, we all loved it.
Wow.
I have to say, so I'll talk about me.
Yeah,
but,
of course. That's why we're here.
I'm happy that she stayed through the whole movie. I'll just say that. But I truly enjoyed this movie, and I will tell you, it was so much funnier than I remembered it being. I laughed out loud on more than several occasions.
Wow.
And that never really happens. And I think part of it is because I was going into it feeling like kind of forgetting the movie. So I was feeling like it was going to be another one of those doofus old man that doesn't know how to raise kids, fumbling around with a diaper. You know, one of those types of dumb kind of comedies. And I think because it wasn't that.
Yeah.
He was actually this, like, pretty smart guy.
Resourceful.
He knew, you completely bought that he's like this independent man. He lives alone, but is smart. Like, he knows what he's doing. He's not stupid.
Right.
He's seen a child before. Like, some of these other movies, it's like, have you seen a child?
Yeah.
Have you watched a TV show? Like,
right.
Some of them are so over the top dumb.
Yeah.
But this was not where they were going with this movie. It wasn't about some guy who doesn't know how to raise kids. It wasn't really about that.
No.
It was really about him and his, charming personality, and it was, the funny moments were truly funny.
Yeah. So, I think we're going to be having an interesting conversation.
Oh boy.
So here's why, because I agree with everything you're saying, and at the same time, I feel like the movie, and I felt this way over and over again. I was like, this feels like a very long TV show episode. Like, it feels like almost like a pilot episode for a TV show. So my thing is, I agree with everything you're saying. In fact, so the poster back in 1989, the tagline for this movie is, he's crude, he's crass, he's family. So I'm like, oh God, is this going to be like a gross, I'm trying to remember, is this a gross out movie? Because I remember it having so much heart. And I don't know if we've lowered our standards. I didn't find him crude.
He's not crude.
I didn't find him crass.
He's not crass.
Give me a break.
No.
So I was like, but does that mean that we've grown more accepting to what slobbiness is? But, like, I didn't find him a slob.
He wasn't a slob.
He broke a plate.
Oh my God. Let me tell you something. that moment, I busted out laughing.
Yeah.
Because, just to set it up,
yeah.
he bumps into, like, a shelf of some sort, and this plate falls off of it and just, like, basically doesn't break. It bounces off the floor. And so you think it's going to break, but it doesn't. And even he is surprised. He's like, oh. And he picks it up. He's like, oh, unbreakable plates. And he just taps it on the end of, like, a table.
Yeah.
On the corner of a table. And it shatters into a million pieces. And I forgot about that scene. I thought it was hilarious. I busted out laughing. when that happened. I'm like, that's, like, so funny, and it was unexpected.
Yeah. I liked a lot of this movie. I liked that that the kids weren't like, similarly your earlier point, like, he knows what a child is. Like, and then similarly with the kids. Like, the kids aren't friggin' monster nightmares. Because movies love doing that to us too. Yes. Especially in the 80s. Like, let's have the kids jumping off a chandelier. Let's have the kids having a crazy house party. And it's like, and the worst character, or the worst behaving character, is the grown daughter. Which, alright, we're gonna dive in. I liked a lot of this movie. I do have some problems with some of the performances. Mm-hmm. The big one for me is the actress, and I'm not going to say her name because I'm not going to say anything positive, unfortunately, about this performance. But the mom, she is playing this role as if she is in some sort of Meryl Streepian like drama. She plays it. She plays it real. Like, she plays it serious. And I thought she was and it wasn't even like a fun buzzkill. She just played it drama, and I'm like, why didn't someone stop? And I don't even blame her.
Right.
I mean, John Hughes, really,
Definitely.
for not saying, listen, this is a comedy, lady. Like, I would rather her because we've seen this role a million times. The uptight, oh my god, my children. Like, we've seen it with Catherine O'Hara. We've seen it with, say, Madeline Kahn, like a wound-up type person all over the 80s. Like, and so Meg Ryan, not necessarily a mom, but like that sort of role. She plays this role so dramatically that it's like, just get out of here.
It was weird. And I feel like part of that was she didn't, like, there was no, like, depth to her at all.
It was very one note.
It was very one note. I did not care about her, and I didn't care about the relationship. Like, I didn't feel like that. I feel like they could have done a little bit more with the relationship between her and the daughter.
I couldn't tell if it was like her stepmother either. Because she's like, you mean maternal figure? She's like, don't call her that. Like,
so Emily and I had somewhat of a debate. It wasn't like a hard debate. She automatically, from the very beginning, felt that was a stepmother.
Yeah.
And she had this whole backstory, too. She's like, no. She goes, because even when she came back, like at the end of the movie, when she came back, because this is obviously something that was in her head, right? So she's like, I really think that the dad married her a couple of years ago, and then she made them move to... Like, she had this whole, like, backstory about her. And I'm like, honey, I don't think that she's the stepmother. 12, right? Yeah, she's 12. Yeah. And I'm like, I don't think that she's the stepmother. I don't think they ever say that she's the stepmother. I think that and she's like, oh, I don't think so.
I agree with Emily.
Yeah.
Because I know that's not the case. I know it is like the mom, but like there's something so distant, and it's
very distant. It's nothing
and it's
really
not
warm.
That thing. It's not that like I don't think it's written. I think it's just that there's no chemistry.
There's no chemistry between the two of them.
To the point where at the end that you're talking about, where they see each other and suddenly all the pieces fall into place. It's not even believable. It's not believable. I did write this. I wrote in her defense. She would make a great lead vampire. I said, if the Lost Boys had a mom, like, it would be this actress. Because there's something very icy about her. And I, listen, I understand.
It would have made sense if it was a stepdaughter.
Right. Not every mom has that natural maternal thing.
Right.
I get that. Not every, obviously, in stepmoms being villains is really played out. But it's like, there's something off about the performance and the chemistry with her and the other actors, even the husband.
Yeah.
Where I just feel like I just wish it was better written. I wish there was, to Emily's point, your daughter's point, I wish there was more backstory. But it just sticks out like a sore thumb. And every time she's on screen, I'm like, oh my God, this is just bringing me down.
Yeah, she was not a likable character at all. I think that there was very little thought put into those two characters, and there should have been a little bit more. And I mean, by two, I meant the mother and the father. Mm-hmm. I mean, obviously, it's not about them, but there should have been something. There should have been some sort of a fight between the daughter and the mother, and just blurted something out that kind of made sense and showed some sort of something. Like, the mother didn't even seem like regretful at all that the relationship was so shitty. Right. She just sat there. She almost got defensive because the daughter insinuated she works too much.
Well, the daughter says, if my family left me, I'd have a heart attack too. Yeah. She's talking about the grandfather.
But even before that, at the dinner table, she said something the kids' hockey ended.
Yeah.
And she's like, it ended 2 weeks ago, but you were too busy working, or something to that degree. But you didn't even feel like you didn't feel like the mother cared. She could have been a cardboard cutout.
100%.
Throughout most of this movie.
It's not a good performance. It's not well written. Even that phone call when Buck. So the daughter is awful.
In fact, go on. Please finish
because
I have an idea.
Calls and says, "Well, I don't know. I mean, I think he drinks and he forgot about the kids and all this, right? Now, if that character was real, the mother would have been like, Buck, are you leaving the kids alone? Are you drinking? How much are you drinking? That character would have...
She said nothing!
She is exactly the character that would have asked those questions, and instead, it's written where she is like holding back tears, and she plays it for drama. It is such a weird character. It's a weird performance. I don't get it.
That telephone call went
nowhere. And
there was no point for that conversation.
No, I think, but here's my thing. So, and certainly I didn't have this then. I didn't think
none of the stuff.
None of it then. It's all as an adult now. And I'm not a parent, but it's like, I give a shit. And so it's like for the mom, and I truly think what they wanted from that phone call scene was that her unraveling with tears was, I think, supposed to be funny, but she played it too straight.
Yeah, it wasn't funny at all. So here's my epiphany. That whole character of the mother was not even needed. I think it would have been better if it was a single dad.
Okay.
And then something happened to somebody. Obviously it could be his father because they're brothers.
Yeah.
But maybe he's a friend. Or maybe he's whatever.
Maybe he's the neighbor.
Think about that. Yeah. If the mother was not even involved, it would have made so much more sense.
Yeah.
The teenager wouldn't have anyone in her life, so I could see how that would make her act out. Mm-hmm. Right? The dad's like overwhelmed with 3 kids. It could have been like a recent passing or a couple of years ago passing. Mm-hmm. I mean, you could have done so much more. So much more without that character.
I completely agree. I agree. It really, and so that is my big negative with this movie.
Yeah.
But so we can go back to the positive. I know you really loved it. I will say one of my funniest things that I laughed out loud, and this is to John Candy's credit, because I think a lot of actors couldn't have done as much with this. So he's on the phone.
I know, exactly. With Clarice.
With Amy Madigan's character. And basically...
So...
Can you... and
it goes on. It goes on for so long.
Yeah.
And it gets better and better the longer it gets.
For the unfamiliar, basically it's like it's almost like he's pretending she's interrupting him. So he has all these sort of fake excuses that he has no excuse. But
he couldn't even get a word in edgewise. That's exactly.
But I don't think she was even saying anything.
She was right. Well,
it's like either way, it's funny, right?
Yes.
Because meaning he is so ready with these half-ass excuses, but she's not even talking. Or
see, I think she was talking.
Oh, you really did.
I watched it as if she was just laying in, like screaming at him. And he couldn't get a word in. He's like, oh, what?
That is so funny. My take is that he was so used to her, drilling him, that he was he's all geared up, but she's not even saying anything because she's used to him. See,
he's used to her yelling at him. Maybe
exactly
that's the same.
Yeah,
thing.
So I think.
Oh my god, it's so funny. It's funny either way.
It's funny either way.
It's funny either way, and I feel like the longer it went on, the funnier it got. That's another one of my laughing out loud moments. I'm like, that was hilarious. And I agree. Only John Candy could pull this off.
Yeah.
I mean, there's very few actors who would have been able to pull that off. And I will say, I forgot how naturally funny this man was. He was really good.
And it feels true. Like, with the scene where Macaulay Culkin slides into the kitchen, he's like, who are you? And John Candy mimics him. He's like, I'm your Uncle Buck. Yeah. And that felt real. That feels like something.
Really felt real. So one of the things I didn't think felt real was that the parents would leave without telling their children that when they wake up in the morning, there'll be this uncle that he clearly hasn't seen them in years. Mm-hmm. That doesn't seem right to me. But whatever. Besides that, that's a little nitpicky. But I just felt like he was a very real character. And actually, not to keep bringing up Emily, but Emily actually said he reminds me so much of Uncle Rick. Because Matt's brother, Rick, he is the same type of person, just kind of fun-loving, easygoing, that's, he's a fun uncle.
Listen, also, you brought this up early on too. This is my kind of note a few times in this.
I haven't even looked at my notes yet.
He is resourceful. Like putting the socks in the oven or microwaving the socks,
yeah.
And washing them in the sink because he can't figure out the laundry machine and all that kind of stuff. Like, he is resourceful in his own way. Mm-hmm. So I found this movie I found the character. I really liked Uncle Buck.
There
was never a moment where I was like, ew.
No, he was fantastic.
When he smoked a cigar, is that a character flaw? It's just weird.
Well, he was who he was. This is who he is. He's a bachelor.
Mm-hmm.
He has his own life. He is, so I guess, questionably responsible because he can't hold a job. But he's responsible and he's resourceful. It's like you said. Mm-hmm. He knows how to take care of himself. He understands responsibility.
Yeah.
He understands that he needs to be there for the family and take care of the family. He knows he needs to make them breakfast. He's and he's all in.
Yeah.
He makes them this huge breakfast the first day.
Yeah.
He gets that. He's
concerned.
Takes them bowling. He takes them bowling.
He's concerned about the girl drinking coffee. I mean, he has genuine concern for these kids.
But he also has a good understanding of them too.
Mm-hmm.
He understands that she doesn't usually drink coffee, but he also understands that he can't be like, why are you drinking coffee? It's almost like the two characters have some things in common in that way.
Yeah.
Where he knows that she's doing this just to piss him off.
Yeah.
And he, I'm sure, does a lot of things just to piss people off too.
Truly, there were more than a few times where I'm like, if I had children, I would not think twice about asking Uncle Buck to take care of them.
Oh my god, I would love to have Uncle Buck take care of them.
He would do whatever he could, and that's even way before the big, gambling, dog track, or do I save the girl dilemma. That it feels very forced.
That was definitely thrown in there. It was just an avoidance.
But I do have some questions for you though, because I know we watched this with Emily.
Yes.
There are some things, and this is a PG movie. PG. It could have been P. Oh, do you know what I'm going to say?
No, but at one point I said it's a P. I said she had a concern or something. It was something. Oh, she had a concern of something. Emily. Oh. And I said, "Don't worry, Annie. This is PG. She's not going to get hurt or something like that."
Oh.
And she goes, "This is PG. This is PG." She couldn't believe it, and because I don't really. I mean, obviously, I don't let her watch ours,
right.
And it's. PG-13 is questionable, but I'm like, yeah, it's PG. Was this before the ratings changed or after?
No,
it's after.
This is 1989.
So there was some questionable. Tell me what you.
Okay, here are my questionable things.
Please,
truly, the clown shows up drunk.
Oh my god!
He had just come from a bachelorette party the night before, and he's like, hey," and he's like, and Uncle Buck says, "You're drunk, dude. You can't come in here." And he's like, "Come on, I just came back from a bachelorette party. Do you want to hear some good dildo jokes?" Okay,
yes.
That's one.
That was one, and it went way over her head. And I think it was so slurred and quick. It was something that could easily be missed. I caught it.
Okay.
But somebody wrote that joke down, and you know what I mean. Someone wrote that joke down, so they shouldn't have put that in there. I don't think.
To me, the bigger offense, the washing machine.
That scene.
So it's very Three's Company. Let me set it up.
Yes.
The washing machine is stuck. He can't open it. So he's like, come on, I have to stick it in. Then at one point he's like, I'm gonna pry you open.
Mm-hmm.
And you hear the bang, 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 bang. It's like a rhythmic banging. And then he says, I rewound it and listened to it. I was like, did he just say what I think he said? I'm gonna put my load in you, whether you like it or not.
Yes. And then she peeks her face in, and you can see his legs moving back and forth as if he is penetrating a woman.
Yep.
So yes, I found that very disturbing. I was watching Emily, so I'm glad that she watched it because she was a good barometer because she's 12, so she gets a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I will tell you right now, if she thought what adults are supposed to think is happening in that room, she would have been mortified and she would have turned away. Yeah. She would have been embarrassed.
Yeah.
She watched that laughing her ass off. She thought it was hilarious. So I don't think it was... I don't think she really understood what it seemed like he was doing.
It sounded because it could also be taken that he was going to really hurt this person, and that Laurie Metcalf's character thought maybe he was killing someone. So that could have been,
think that's more about it because he was so angry.
Because he's like, I'll get the crowbar.
I'll get you. You know, it was not because let me tell you, because she is at that age where she's sensitive when she's watching a movie with me and Matt.
Yeah.
To any
mortifying.
Any sort of sexual innuendos. And if at any point she thought that, she would have been mortified. But she thought it was hilarious, and I think Laurie Metcalf did a good job of just being mortified. Of course you love her, and I do too.
Yeah.
She was funny. And I think that because it went back and forth to her, horrified face, and then him yelling and all that kind of stuff, I think it just went right over Emily's head as to what they thought he was doing.
Yeah.
And it was more of an angry, obviously she thought it was somebody that broke in and was angry and was being just violent.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was questionable too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally forgot Laurie Metcalf was even in this movie.
Me too. Yeah. Me too.
Yeah. She looked good. She looked so different.
She looked very, very different. But she was good. I felt like she was in it. I felt like that character was in it for longer than she was. She was really only in it for 2 scenes, right? The first scene and then the second scene.
The dancing scene.
But I might have gotten it mixed up with Mr. Mom when they had the neighbors that were always coming over.
That was Anne Gillian.
Yes, but they bump into her.
That sexy neighbor.
Yeah.
Well, and here's my issue. I have an issue with that. Because then you have, again, I'm going after the mother again, is would they even be friends? They would not be friends. That boring mom and Laurie Metcalf.
I don't think they were friends because even the mom said they suggested her watching the kids, and she said, "I wouldn't let that woman near my kids" or something like that.
Oh shit!
Yeah,
I didn't catch
at the very beginning because that was the first suggestion. We'll have Marcy watch them, and she was not having it.
Oh my god, I missed it. Whoops. Yeah. Sorry.
It's okay. We'll allow it just this one time.
So Christina, so you really loved it. I think a lot more than me, but I liked it.
I did.
What did you...
I thought it was great, and I think it was more of a surprise. Like I said, I was expecting it to be more of a Mr. Mom kind of feel to it. He comes in not knowing what to do and expecting more of that dumb humor, which I'm not a big fan of. Yeah. So the fact that it wasn't that dumb humor, I think it just not only did I think it was funny just to begin with, but it was such a nice surprise. Not expecting
to be funny.
The house
wasn't trashed until the very end when the stupid pot thing fell off the ceiling.
Oh, that was hilarious.
That was funny.
I thought that was
funny. But it was but you expected windows to break. Because I couldn't remember. And I was what? And did they trash the house? And there's a few dirty clothes in the steps, but he was doing laundry.
He was, the only reason why it had any messiness to it is because he couldn't get the washing machine to work. That's the only...
Yeah. But he was washing the laundry anyway.
He was washing it, but he was drying it on the fan.
I was looking for the house to be in disarray. But that really nice living room with the piano and all that, it was a piano, right? But that wasn't trashed. He broke one plate very early on, and there's some spots of dirty laundry on the stairs. But I was they didn't really trash this place. And it would have been this very typical 80s thing to do.
But it wasn't. It was definitely more of a character... I think it was more of a character movie for him. It wasn't about the pratfalls and, the I don't know how to take care of a child thing. It was more just understanding, his personality and what a great guy he is. And he's doing his best, and he's doing a good job at it. I thought he was doing a really good job at it. He, kind of bonded with the kids. He was just I felt like he was a very real character. Mm-hmm. I could see, it's actually with the younger ones, I could see me sort of relating to them the same way that he did in the movies. You talk to them like a human being. You don't talk down to them. That's not a real conversation with a child. He had real conversations with these kids, including Tia, including, he had her number from the first second. He knew exactly what was happening.
Yeah.
And he let her know, I know what you're doing, and you're not going to get away with it, you know? And, you know, it's a battle of wits, and it's a battle of, wills.
Yeah.
But you're not going to win.
Well, and you knew Bug's number right away. And I will say, one scene I really did like, although we've seen this before, but it's like the principal with, the mole on her face.
Yes.
Right? So, it's actually not really a mole, it's some sort of, it's like a, what do you call it?
War. He was calling it a war.
Yeah, different words, yeah. So, but what I thought was interesting about that scene is that felt very now, where it's like, they expect so much from a 6-year-old girl. So this is about Maisie, played by Gabby Hoffman.
Which I forgot.
Super cute. I mean, God, she's so cute in this movie.
And can I just tell you, I forgot that child even existed in the movie. If you had asked me last week...
How many kids are in this?
It's Uncle Buck,
Macaulay,
the older child, and Macaulay Culkin.
Yeah. I remember there being 3 kids. I remember the bitchy daughter... And I remembered Macaulay Culkin because of like the interrogation scene, but I think I would remember I didn't remember there were 3, but I liked that the principal like basically layering all of these like she should be this, she should be that,
she's a dreamer,
and then Uncle Buck says the thing about being a dreamer, and I said that feels very now. I feel like even more so now, where like the expectations put on little I mean, you're a teacher, put on little kids in grade school. To be reprimanded for being too daydreaming or having dreams. It feels very contemporary.
100%. Yeah. I mean, but it's funny. It's almost like the opposite situation for me right now because I'm the teacher.
Yeah.
And I understand that you need them to play. And a lot of times, not often, but there is a parent or two that'll come in and be like, she's 3. Does she know the ABCs yet? Does she know the
well, that's
letters?
right. Baby Boom. Remember Baby Boom was like that too?
Yes.
Like, the other babies are way ahead of her. And it's like, she's a baby, And
that definitely happens. I loved that scene. I thought that was so fun. And I think, again, it was a great moment. It wasn't so, far-fetched. Like, you knew exactly what was going to happen the minute he walked into the place. But it was just great. It wasn't out of character, for one thing. It was true to his character. Because he was all about kind of telling it like it is and doing the right thing.
Yeah.
That's really sums him up.
I will say, the only thing about that scene was wouldn't they have waited a day to talk to the actual parents versus the caretaker?
Well, it was already set up.
Oh.
Yeah, it was already set up.
I swear I was paying attention.
Are you sure?
I don't know why I missed
You might have been too busy writing down all these notes.
I have 4 pages of notes.
See? Yeah. But no, they when he sat down, she said that he said that they had already set this schedule up, and that was on his to-do list is to meet with the teacher.
Okay.
I will say, leading up to that scene, another moment where I busted out laughing when he's trying to use the urinal.
Oh my God, that was so good.
So fun.
So
it was
funny.
really funny. And I think, again, I really think it was a John Candy moment. I think another actor wouldn't have done it justice.
Oh, I believe that whole thing was
and it was a nice
improv until the final moment.
It was a nice, well-paced scene.
Yeah.
I think in another movie, you would have maybe seen... so to set it up, he's in school, he's in an elementary school, and he goes to the bathroom, and there's a line of little children's urinals, and he has to go to the bathroom. That's the setup. But I think in another movie, they might have just looked at them and maybe moved a little bit to try, and then given up and just walked out or shook his head, and that would have been the joke. But he really does. He's contemplates it. He tries to figure out how to do it, and he ends up going on his knees. And I love that he's such a big man, and he has the coat, and he just looks so enormous in front of all of these little tiny urinals. And it was just a funny. But
it's true to his character.
So true to his character.
Resourceful, adaptable.
Yeah, totally. Even the cigar, he smokes throughout the whole thing. He walks into the bathroom and he looks under the stalls and he sees that there's little tiny feet under the stall. So he sees, and then he's like, "Oh, I have to put the cigar out."
He's a good character.
He's a good guy.
So, and speaking of the cigar, and this is how much I misremembered this movie. It's when he's sitting on the sofa with a cigar. And he's looking at the wedding album.
Such a moment.
Sad.
Such a sad moment.
Basically, he's looking at the photo album. I'll remind you, if you're listening, that he's looking and he remembers this picture in the photo album, and he has a weird look on his face, and he slides the photo out, and he realizes that he was in the photo, but it was he was folded over, so he doesn't appear in the frame. Super hurtful.
Really?
Do I need another reason to hate this mother? Yeah. But the other thing is that I honestly was like, oh my god, the cigar. He's gonna burn the couch. Like I don't know why. I kept thinking
there was going to be some disaster.
Who
knew that plate was the only disaster they had?
Really? Because I kept thinking like, oh well, he's a slob. He's gonna burn something. He's gonna destroy something.
Crass, right?
What?
Probably because you thought he was crude and crass.
That's right. The movie wants you to think he's grosser than he is, but he's not. I will say one thing that was a little. This is very minor, but it's very movie. The car is called The Beast, and it's so loud and smoky and backfires and this. The only scene where it doesn't do that is when he has to have a serious, quiet talk with Tia. Did you notice that?
I did not notice that. That's a good call. Good call. Good call.
I'm like, that's interesting, because I thought that actually would have been funnier if they just let the car be the car that it's been the whole movie.
Because it wasn't a super long conversation either. They could have had that conversation, and at the very end, had it backfire. That would have been good. That actually would have worked.
Brian and Christina, available for hire, script doctors.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Really quick, that kid who played Bug, Underwood, I forget his first name, but he was in a movie called The Boy Who Could Fly. Do you remember that movie?
Oh my gosh,
I loved that
He looked
movie.
familiar to me, and I couldn't figure out why. I didn't look him up.
There's a Dirty Dancing reference with Laurie Metcalf's character.
Yeah.
That was pretty funny, too.
That was funny.
I liked
how Dirty Dance with you?
I actually liked how they did a close-up on her knees, like kind of walking his leg between, because it's far from dirty. It's just hilariously ridiculous.
And the camera angles were interesting. Matt pointed those out too. He's like, I really like the camera angles in this movie.
Oh, and then we were doing like the face-to-face, and you know disaster is going to strike.
Definitely. So she's a good character. So let's talk about, let's talk about the kids for a second, because they were obviously a main point of this movie.
Yeah.
Like I said before, I forgot there were 3, and I feel badly because Gabby Hoffman's a great little actress.
Mm-hmm.
She was then, and I don't know, is she acting still?
Yes.
Wasn't
she in Transparent? Oh God,
I didn't see that.
Yeah. I didn't watch that either.
Yeah. Anyway, she's a great actress in any case, and I felt bad. I'm like, why did I forget about her? And I think I know why. I feel like the 2 kids were too close in age. Were they supposed to be twins? Because they were very, very close in age.
This ties into Emily's theory. They look nothing alike. None of the kids look alike. Right. Really.
Well, the girls kind of. You could kind of buy that the girls were sisters.
Okay.
A little bit.
But Macauley Culkin's this like blonde little sprite.
Yeah.
And and so, I don't know. But I think that they were very close.
He was hired because he's a good actor, not because he looked like the family. That's for sure. But I think it would have worked better, speaking of script doctoring, if the Gabby Hoffman character was like even 2 years younger. If you think about that, if she was 4 rather than whatever.
6. She's 6. That's the principal said.
Right.
Yeah.
But if she was 4 and Macaulay Culkin's character, how old is he supposed to be? He was a little bit older. Like, I just didn't feel like there was a big enough stretch, and I think that it could have been a little, even like a little funnier if there was a little bit more of a separation. And I think he would have, he is obviously the standout, like that's where he got his big break, I think, right? He wasn't...
the actor was 9, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he was probably supposed to be like maybe 8 or something, right? So... but I think if she was like 5, like there was a little bit more of a separation in the ages, I think that would have worked better. But I did think that the 2 of them had pretty solid performances. Their timing was great. He he's just really cute, and I think a lot of the stuff they put in for him.
Well, the interrogation scene. You know the backstory of that.
I don't know the backstory.
So I guess they had John Candy wearing cue cards on his forehead.
Oh my gosh.
Macaulay Culkin just could read them in a certain way.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just found that out though. I think it was
Isn't
on
that funny?
Yeah,
that's a funny scene too. I like that scene too. But even like Gabby Hoffman, again, she was a good performance, but I just think that because they were so close in age, she was really like overshadowed.
Oh, I see. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So she didn't really get her.
But but again, cute and
adorable,
yeah.
Cute and good timing.
Oh, there's a really funny. What does she say? Oh, this is funny, and I don't even. And I'm like, God, is that where that came from? Because I used to say this all the time when they're in the car, and Tia gets out of the car, and it's Tia.
Tia. Yeah.
And Uncle Buck says, you think she hates me? and Maisie says, with a passion.
Yeah.
I love that. But I used to say that all the time.
I used to say that all the time too. I think it was a saying.
It was already saying that?
80s,
Okay.
80s
all right.
saying. So the kid, the younger kids.
Yeah.
I had a few issues with Tia's performance.
I'm curious as to your issue because I have a very real issue with her performance.
One of the things that I noticed right away is she could have been the Jennifer Grey's character in Ferris Bueller.
Oh, sure.
She could have been that's who I saw every time I saw her. And I think I had a bit of a criticism of hers back in Ferris Bueller, our revisit.
Yeah.
Where it was just the same scowl every time you talked to her. Every time you looked at her, her eyes were like slanted, and she just had that look. And I just felt like she could have done a lot more. Even if she just changed her facial expression a little bit here and there, it would have spoken volumes.
Christina, I hear you. But I will say, if we're comparing those two performances, Jennifer Grey and Ferris Bueller, she was the thing I liked in Ferris Bueller.
No,
but I will say,
But
my argument with this performance with Tia, she always looks like she's on the brink of laughing.
Interesting.
I was very unconvinced by her scowl. And maybe I'm not supposed to be convinced by her scowl. Maybe it's all an act. It's teenage rebellion, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, I agree, because I don't think it was even all that done well.
It wasn't. I feel like she should have turned it up a bit. Just turned up her performance a couple of notches. Be a little more angry. Be a little bit more... after she got off the phone with Charisse, there was a little bit of a regret, but it was almost not noticeable.
Is it? What is her name?
Is
it Charisse? Is it Charisse?
I thought it was Charisse.
Sorry.
Is it?
No.
I thought
you said Clarice at first. Charisse.
I think it was Charisse. Shanice.
Shanice. Played by Amy Madigan.
Yes. But she hangs up the phone and you see a little glimmer of regret, but I think she should have played it a little bit more regretful on that. Even when she's with Bug and she's not really wanting to do what he wants to do. A little bit more no, I really don't. Just turned it up a little. Mm. It was just a little bit too flat for me.
I completely agree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do.
Good.
Finally. I have another big note, but I wonder if we should take a little break?
Let's take a little break.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know, I gotta look at my notes.
I know.
I have to look at my notes.
Alright, cool. So we'll take a break and we'll be right back.
Yeah. Hey there, it's Brian and Christina. We just wanted to take this break to thank you for listening to Old Roommates, the only podcast that revisits pulp culture through a middle-aged lens. Please subscribe to Old Roommates on iTunes, Spotify, and wherever you listen to podcasts. And give us a rating or review while you're there.
And if you have any questions, comments, or observations, shoot us an email at oldroommatespod@gmail.com. And follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Old Roommates. Thanks for listening, and now, back to the show. And we're back talking about Uncle Buck. Christina, I know I did a lot of talking and you're just sort of reviewing your notes.
Oh yeah, I forgot to review my notes during the break. Let's see. No, I think I kind of I was able to throw my information out there. I will say I did think it was funny. I really liked... So some of the things that I think were a little bit outlandish still kind of worked for me. Like we mentioned the washing machine. Mm-hmm. And I could see him feeling like heating up hot, wet, soapy socks in a microwave is a good way to clean them. Yeah. So I felt like that was like... I feel like it was a realistic...
solve.
Yeah. Whereas I feel like in other movies... They would have done something.
They would have put him in the stove, the oven, and it would have started
a fire, and the house would have burnt down. The other example I had was I have a very small nitpicky about it, but the pancakes that he made for breakfast. It was really cute. It was so very outlandish.
Yeah.
They have this huge stove countertop, so that's fine. That's convenient that they have
amazing.
That. Really cool, yeah. Right? And then he makes a huge pancake. So the pancake was probably, how big do you think it was? It was
3
probably
feet. 3 feet.
3 feet in diameter.
Yeah.
And then he gets a shovel from the garage to try to flip it. All of the stuff is probably not possible to do.
Yes.
But I was okay with it. I'm like,
it's one of my favorite parts.
Yeah, I was okay with it. It's all right. I'm gonna say it's okay. Yeah. However, did you notice when he flipped the pancake? He flips the pancake, and all of a sudden, the pancake is about probably what is this? A foot and a half in diameter. It was size of like a very noticeably different size.
I didn't catch
and
it.
I felt like they could have because then. The next scene
is a stack
of the huge 3 feet ones. And I don't know why they did it that way.
Yeah.
I don't know why they didn't have just one of the ones that they have in the pancake stack as the example of him flipped it. Anyway, but I really loved that scene. I thought it was so cute. And I loved that it was so underplayed because she did mention... a while, when she was leaving that, it's his birthday. What's his little character's name?
It's with an M. Is it Miles?
Maybe. I think it might have been
because there was Maisie and M. It's another M name.
Anyway, she's like, it's his birthday, but then she's like, I'll be back before then. And that's the only time it's ever mentioned. And then the scene happens, and it's so cute and surprising and sweet and over the top because he's the crazy fun uncle. Mm-hmm. But like the heart, right?
Totally.
I mean the heart in that.
It's one of my favorite scenes.
It's a great scene. It's a great scene.
So I will say something that, and I don't mean to end. So this is my last note, and unfortunately, it's a negative. But he does kidnap Bug. Spoiler.
He does.
He puts him in the trunk, and not only that, he tapes his hands up. Mm-hmm. Not only that, he then shoots golf balls at him. I understand, but it's against the law.
Yeah, but you know what? I was okay with it. I mean, Uncle Buck seems like someone who does bend the law a little bit. Yeah. And like I said, like we both said before, he's all heart, and it's all done from the right place. Like, let's face it, this asshole has been trying to get little, Tia, well, not little, but Tia to have sex with him and coercing and all this crap. He has threatened him. So Uncle Buck has threatened him on a number of occasions, and I've loved all of the threats. The threats were so fun and so awesome, and just like, I have an axe, and da-da-da-da, and it's very, talking about circumcising. He's like, circumcise a gnat, but that wouldn't be you. Hey, wait, your name is Bug. Bug is very close to a gnat, isn't it? And then T is like, he's just bluffing, and then he goes to the car and he pulls out an axe. See my axe? Like, I just loved all of those like threats. Mm-hmm. And you didn't really feel like he was gonna hurt him. even after he kidnapped him. But he deserved it. He was a dick. He was trying to get this woman to have sex with him, and he was like being disrespectful and everything.
But he was
else.
out of her life.
It doesn't matter.
He brought him back. But he brought him back into her life. He could have let Bug, like Bug had moved on.
Right, but that's why I think Uncle Buck is such an upstanding man. Because he saw that he was still moving on with somebody else. It didn't matter that much. I mean, of course it mattered a little bit that it wasn't his niece. But he wasn't going to just let him go. Because not only is he trying to get his niece in bed with her, but he's also cheating on her now and breaking her heart. And he was a dick in all kinds of ways. And so I think in Uncle Buck's point of view was he owes Tia an apology. And that's why he kidnapped him. Yeah. Because that was the whole point. He's like, apologize to her.
I could think of 8 other ways for him to get an apology out of Bug.
Well, I think as a mom...
Don't you dare!
I think as a human being...
Don't you dare!
Who loves children, I think I would forgive him for that. Because he didn't really... I mean, he kidnapped him, yes. But only short term. And he was a jerk. And then he was a jerk even after he took the duct tape off his lips. He was like, I'm sorry.
I'm not
a jerk.
Hey, listen, you seem to be oh my god. You seem to be a real big proponent on kidnapping.
Well, I'm telling you, if anybody tried to do that with Emily, they better hope it's just kidnapping. So then they take him out of the car. Yeah. And he's still a jerk. He's like,
no, absolutely. And I wrote down, he's like, chicken shit asshole.
Right? And then he backs up and chases. Yeah. I'm like, he deserved everything.
He deserved everything. And that blew my mind too. I think also that blew my mind for like a PG because he was a kid was like really yelling asshole and chicken shit. And I was like, and I didn't care for that. I didn't care for that whole sequence to be honest. But excuse me. But like, I just don't know. I don't know. It's like, I mean, if that was like in my mind. So she dumps Bug, or she leaves Bug because he was being a dick. To me, they're broken up. And I feel like the kidnapping of Bug just keeps him in Tia's life. Yeah. And then, once again, we've seen this in movies before too, where like, the person comes into the person's life, they think they're resolving everything, and then they leave. But like, she still has to go to, I mean, Bug's not going to mess with her anymore, but she still has to go to school with him. Yeah. And Bug, Uncle Buck leaves. So it's like, that's real convenient.
I think...
We just feel differently about it, I guess.
Yes. I think we feel differently about it. But I also... Oh, what was my point I was going to make? Oh, I will tell you. Okay, yeah, fine. We'll just disagree on that. But I will say I did like that reveal that it wasn't her. Mm-hmm. And I remembered that from last time.
Same. I remember that.
I really liked that. Like,
it's done well.
It was done really... I thought it was done really well. Mm-hmm. Because especially since they had that other scene with her saying, I'm not really ready, I'm not really ready. And now it's in a bedroom and she's saying, I'm not really ready. And he's saying, oh, it's okay. And he's still taking her clothes off. Yeah. Seriously, Brian, you wouldn't want to kill that kid?
I guess. Why? I don't know. I think that, like, she was warned so many times what sleazebag he was.
I'm just wondering how Victoria feels about this.
Oh, my God.
Uncle Brian.
Listen. Anyway, I think that...
No, it was weird. I understand what
she's
you're
not,
saying.
She's not a child.
I understand what you're saying.
But anyway, so...
She's like 15 years old.
No, but I guess my point, like, it's not... This should not have been the biggest shock. He was trying to get in her pants the entire time. Uncle Buck kept saying, he's bad news, he's bad news, he's bad news. She keeps putting herself in danger. Yeah. And then, they break up, and then he goes, he wants to get off, and so he picks up this girl at the party, and he's really treating her, poorly. And then I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think it was like seeing him with the duct tape on his hands was a little bit of a line for me. It was like a little bit too much. I don't know. Like maybe if I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. But it was...
The duct tape was a bit much. I agree.
It seemed like a lot.
So maybe it was the duct tape. Maybe if he had just had rope around his hands.
What if he was in the back seat, sitting straight up, Uncle Buck maybe duct taped the seatbelt around and was like, I think you have something to say? And then as soon as he cuts him loose and he runs away.
No, I agree with that. I think that would be better. I do think it was
much.
I think you're right. It was a little bit much, but I was going to forgive that because I just forgive a couple of things in the movie.
Yeah.
But I agree. It would have been better. I agree. Better if it was done a little bit differently.
So
being more resourceful, actually.
The big question, and I think I know my answer. Before
you start ending this, I want to look through my notes for one more.
You said you already did.
I almost did. Wait. I will just say there's one. Oh, yeah. There's 2 points I want to make. Amy Madigan, great actress. I liked her in this a lot. I felt like she was believable as this woman that's been strung along for 8 years and just so frustrated with him and trying to get him a job and stuff like that. I don't know if I would have been had as much patience with him, but he is charming enough and likable enough and has a big enough heart and does the right thing enough of the time that I would buy that she would stick with him. However, they did not do a good job with her makeup in this movie. She looked horrible. And she's a pretty woman. That's the thing. It's not a rank on her. Yeah. It really is more of a critique of the makeup. Something about the color of her lips to her hair. And that first scene in the bar, she was so pale and her eyes were too done.
She had a perma scowl. She didn't, and I think it was. I agree. I think it was a little bit of the makeup. My issue was, and I agree with you. I think she didn't look great.
She did not. Oh my gosh! Why did they make her look so bad?
She is a pretty woman. She was in a great movie called Nowhere to Hide, and I think it's But I have to look that up. But she's I really like her as an actress, and she's an attractive woman. But she doesn't look good in this. And also, I found there's a little bit of a weird character shift at the very, very end, where she becomes very chatty and bitchy. She's like, "Oh my god, blah 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 blah," and it's like, "Wait, where did that come from?"
Yeah, all of a sudden she just changes her past. Yeah,
because she was all about grow up, and then she's in front of the family and she's picking a fight with Buck, and I'm like, she
was saying, "I'm sorry, the house was so messy."
But she kept talking,
and it was like a different conversation.
Yeah, it was weird.
Now, do we feel like Uncle Buck is going to end up marrying her and having children after this?
Marrying, yes. He's 40. I don't know how old she is.
She said her clock is ticking, so
okay, yeah, maybe they will. I wish them well.
I wish them well too, but I feel like the conversation that he had with Tia, I think, could have been a little deeper in his realization about his relationship with Shanice. I feel like there was an opportunity for him to really have a light bulb moment that he's taking her for granted and she deserves more. I feel like there could have been a better moment. And I think Tia having him realize that would have been the moment. Although I liked that scene with her obviously trying to tell Shanice how great of a guy he is. And obviously a scripted thing that he wrote. I liked that scene, but I think it would have been a little bit less funny, but a better twist if she was having that conversation with Shanice. I mean, with him and Shanice overhearing.
Oh, cute.
I think that would have
Chrissy,
been
your mission is clear. You're going to reboot Uncle Buck.
All right, sounds good. And one last thing.
Yeah.
That I have this line here that made me... one more line that made me laugh out loud.
Okay.
It was when the clown showed up and he was drunk.
Yeah.
Then, and what I liked was it didn't take long for John Candy to recognize that he was drunk too.
Yes.
It was kind of noticed it right away, and he's like, "Yeah, well," and he was not immediately upset with him. He was just like, "Yeah, well, maybe you should get out of here." And the clown's like, "Well, you haven't, you tell me you don't knock back a few," and he's like, "No, but I wouldn't if I was working a children's party." You know what I mean? Kind of going back and forth like that. And then he starts getting more and more angry, and he goes, get in your mouse and get out of here. Because just get in your mouse and just get out of here. Because his car was painted like a mouse.
Yeah.
Like
Shit, I have one more funny part. Although the line before it is like one of those, really, this is PG. So they talk, Buck is talking to Shanice about, I miss your body parts. I miss Mickey and Minnie, your boobs.
Oh my gosh,
like,
yeah.
And I miss, she's like, and she's like, and Felix is the name of my meow. And I was like, wait, what? I definitely didn't catch that the first time around. But what was funny is...
And Emily didn't catch it.
But the very next scene, I laughed out loud. And I was like,
that
he's
was
trying to catch the cat. He's like, get in the house. Get in the house. And the cat's like, meow, meow. And he's like, get in the house. And he finally picks up the cat, brings the cat in the house. And he's like, kids, I brought the cat. And they're like...
No, he goes, who let the cat out?
He's like, we don't have a cat. He's like, get out of here.
That was great.
I laughed.
Really funny. That was another one that I laughed at, too.
Yeah.
But it was a good transition. I liked how they did that.
Yes.
Yeah.
For a PG film.
Okay,
right.
so now...
Questions.
Well...
Oh, yeah, wait.
Are
Did
you
like
going...
it more?
I liked it a lot more.
Yeah.
Yes, a lot more. Not that I didn't like it before. It was just it wasn't as memorable. Like, I feel like it should have been more memorable for me, but I honestly feel like it's the result of all of these movies in between 1989 and now, where it depicts the man showing up, not understanding what a child is, trash in the house. Like, there have been so many of those movies that I forgot how different Uncle Buck was. So that's like a result of that.
Yeah.
So my memory wasn't very clear on that. So I absolutely liked it more, and I would definitely recommend it.
Yeah.
You?
So I would say I liked it about the same for different reasons, actually. But I don't think I would go out of my way to rent it. If it's on like Netflix, yeah, you can kill a couple, 90 minutes or 100 minutes with this. I will say one thing I didn't talk about in the very beginning is like there's a bit of there's a bit of like hostility. Like the family's pretty, like the mom and the daughter, and you can feel it, and which is intentional. But then you get to Buck and Charisse, and then they're arguing. And I just feel like for a PG, quote unquote, family movie, it really starts at a negative place, and to the point where Uncle Buck at one point says, "Why are we arguing?" And I was like, "My thoughts exactly." Like it's a lot of negative, front loaded, and I think it had some work to do to get out of that vibe.
Sure.
And I will say, once that mother was off screen, it became a different movie. I liked it about the same, but for different reasons. So yeah.
Nice. Would you recommend it?
Like I said, I would not say pay $3.99 on iTunes or whatever to rent it. But if it's on, say, Netflix or whatever, and you have that service and it's on, I would say sure, you can put it on. It's really
actually, I think it's on HBO. I taped it off of HBO.
Oh,
isn't that funny?
That's so funny. I took it from the library. But but I think it's like it's worth watching for John Candy. I mean, he's just so good in this.
If I would recommend it because I did forget how good he was, and it was a nice reminder of actually how effortlessly funny he is.
A smidge of trivia. Original consideration for this was Danny DeVito. Which I could picture it. It would be a different kind of thing, but I could picture it.
I could picture it, but I don't know.
I think it'd be a lot of visual stuff because he's so big, and then Danny DeVito is so tiny.
Yeah, I feel like his huge persona was part of the character.
Yeah, I agree with you.
The largeness of him coming into their worlds.
Well, and you can imagine the bug stuff. With Danny DeVito, it would have to be a different vibe.
It would have to be more of like a mafia vibe, right?
Yeah. Anyway.
Awesome. Okay, so questions.
Yes.
Do you want me to go first?
Sure.
Okay. All right, so mine is a multiple choice.
Okay.
For you. Okay, so in your opinion, what did you think was the best thing that Uncle Buck did for the kids? For each of the kids, okay? Right. So we have, number one, the gigantic pancakes he made for, what's his name's birthday?
Macaulay.
Yeah. Number two, telling off the assistant principal and coming to Maisie's kind of defense. Mm-hmm. Or 3, tormenting Bug and forcing him to apologize to Tia.
Do you already have your answer for me?
I do have my answer for you.
My answer is A.
Me too!
The pancake. Because I think it was not a reaction to anything necessarily. It was about celebrating something. Celebrating. And it was so from the heart, and it took a lot of effort. Mm-hmm. And he didn't have to do shit. He could have just bought a cake. He could have bought pancakes. He could have.
They were going to celebrate it after they got home.
Exactly.
They didn't even have to
celebrate.
Didn't
do anything. And I think it was like, that's a lot of work. It meant a lot to me. I love pancakes. And it was such a cute scene. And you could see the look on the kids' faces.
Oh my gosh. And that's exactly what kids want. They want that big, over-the-top kind of celebration.
Cool. Ready?
Awesome.
Ready?
Yep.
And that's what you would have said too?
That's what I would have said too, yeah.
I would have thought you would have said the Tia thing. Like the kidnapping of Bug. Yeah. So FMK. It's a fuck, marry, kill.
Yes.
And a PG family film.
How about Kiss, Marry, Kill?
Yeah, right. Uncle Buck.
Uncle Buck.
Dad.
And
Bug.
Oh my gosh. Actually, this is really tough.
Really? No, it isn't.
Really? It's not that tough.
I'm putting what I'm going to say because I think we're going to say the same things. I think it's the only answer.
Oh boy, no pressure. Okay, so I guess I would marry... Alright, I'd marry Uncle Buck.
Of course.
It's not a slam dunk, though. He's not very committed. It's not a slam dunk.
How much commitment do you need at this point?
How about I want to get married? No, it's not a slam dunk, but I have faith in him that he would be a good husband once he said I do. So Uncle Buck, and then I would I guess I'd have to F the dad.
Of course.
Yeah. I wouldn't want Bug anywhere near me. So kill Bug.
Groovy.
Is that what you would say too?
100%. That was my answer, yeah.
So it's okay to kill Bug, just not kidnap him.
Those are the options, yes. Kill Bug.
Wow.
I've killed lots of bugs. That's just not even true. I actually saved bugs. Oh my god, really quick. The other night, I was watching TV and I hear a cricket in Carl's office. Mm-hmm. Louder than loud. Carl sleeps right through it. And of course it's haunting me. But it's so crazy. So I went in, put the light on, and he was like right there.
Yeah, crickets are just...
He was like,
let me out. Crickets do not care about us.
I was like, I'm never going to find him. It's like almost 1 o'clock in the morning. Mm-hmm. And he's so loud. And I just heard the light. It's like right there. I'm like, scoop him up, put him outside.
Here I am. Please let me out.
And I did save him. I put him up right outside.
Good.
And, but yeah, no, I don't kill bugs.
I don't kill bugs either.
Yeah. And that's it.
That's it
Good
for this episode, yeah.
And that is it for us and for this episode of Old Roommates. Thanks for listening. Please subscribe to Old Roommates on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, and wherever you listen to podcasts. And give us a rating or review while you're there, please.
If you have an idea for the show or a suggestion or comment, you can email us at oldroommatespod@gmail.com. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Old Roommates. This is Christina.
And this is Brian.
Thanks again for listening. Until next time.